Thank you so much to Ms. Sharon Bloom-Melamed and Dr. Gila Oren. Now, on to the next theme. Aging is a part of life. In fact, some might say aging is the most natural part of life. However, what is not so natural is the way that society thinks of and treats people entering the third age. Sometimes, it is as though seniors are really only defined by their age. Every other shade and color of their being fades, and eventually, so do they. The next session will explore the ways that Service Program for Older People uses to recognize the cumulative experiences of each person to help us understand the challenges, strengths, and insights that older age affords us. Let's all welcome Nancy Harvey, Chief Executive Officer at Service Program for Older People.
We're the only agency in New York City that is solely focused on mental health services to older adults.
I was a wreck. I was a mess. I'd gone through losing my home, my husband and I separating.
You're in pain and you're having friends who kind of deserting you. It's tough.
I really felt as though I needed help and needed a counselor.
There's always something I come away with every time, and that is one thing that's awe-inspiring about special service for older people.
The goal is for everybody to make some progress towards personalized goals.
Seeing them almost like blossom in a way into this other person that had you seen a year ago when they first came through these doors, you wouldn't believe.
I know there's someone here that can help me.
I go to confronting anxiety, I go to a dance group, I go to a yoga group, I go to an art group. It made me a whole person. It's been amazing. It's like a new life.
It's a population that traditionally has been ignored.
It's my job to help them shape a story that they'd be happy telling somebody.
This is the place that they kind of check in and get renewed every week and then have the courage to go back out in the world. And SPOP's one of the few organizations that is doing this in New York, both seeing people on site and at home and in the clinic.
I've been 6 programs since 1978, but this one program is the best. It's like a second home here.
They know the ropes of getting older, and they're kind and they're understanding. I mean, they're just good. It's been great for me.
I have so much confidence in myself now that I didn't have before. And I don't see myself as being helpless. They're like a lifeline for me.
There is that great essence of being focused on keeping my independence as an individual.
SPOP have really been blessings in a way for me. So I've been very lucky, fortunate, and I'm thankful for all of it. I'm a groupie now.
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Harvey, Chief Executive Officer of Service Program for Older People, located in New York City. And I'd like to thank the Stavros Niarchos Foundation and the SNF conference team for the opportunity to speak here today about mental health care for older adults. During my 33 years at SPOP, I've learned 3 important lessons. Our lives become more complicated as we grow older. Some of us are likely to experience mental health disorders in our later years, but are definitely less likely to have access to treatment. And our communities are stronger when our older parents, friends, and neighbors are healthy and independent. SPOP has built a program based on those 3 core beliefs. We serve a client population that spans 40 years, and reflects the racial and ethnic diversity of New York City. Our doors are open to people of all walks of life, working or retired, grieving a loss, or seeking new relationships, barely getting by or middle income. What they have in common is their age and a need for affordable mental health care. Our goal is to help each client rethink any misconceptions that they can't improve their lives even when they are confronting ageism, racism, sexism, or homophobia. I don't want to dwell too much on the assumptions we make about older adults. That's a subject for another talk. But we need to acknowledge the ageist thinking that permeates many of our cultures. Negative stereotypes teach us that older adults are often depressed and helpless. Now, I identify strongly with that age bracket, and the last thing I feel is helpless. And as far as mental health conditions are concerned, the rates among older adults are the same as the general population, which is to say about 20%. But negative stereotypes can make it easy for us to forget that people can benefit from mental health care at any age. Let me share a few statistics about aging. People over the age of 60 are the fastest growing segment of the population throughout the world. In fact, with improved health care and a declining birth rate, there are now more people over age 60 than children under 5. Aging can be expensive when you consider the cost of health care, institutional or nursing home care, and other supports. That said, in the United States, less than 50% of older adults with mental health or substance use disorders ever receive treatment, even though one of the easiest ways to reduce the cost of aging is to support the physical and mental health care of older adults so they can live independently. There are some very real barriers that older adults faced. As I mentioned before, negative stereotypes teach us that depression is a normal part of growing older. There are very few providers that offer affordable and age-sensitive treatment. Many adults are put off by stigma or shame. And finally, some older adults are unable to travel to see a therapist. I'd like to tell you about two of our clients, Alice and Isabel, whose stories show how we work to address those challenges. Alice was 83 when she came to SPOP. Her husband had just died, and she was so overwhelmed by grief that her primary care doctor told him that she didn't want to live anymore. Her doctor took that seriously, put her in touch with us, and we saw her right away. During intake, Alice described how she had struggled to care for her husband while he was sick, how difficult her marriage had been, and how empty her life was now that he was gone. She had lost touch with most of her friends. She had no energy for personal care. We connected her with a therapist who was trained in treating complicated grief, and they met each week. At the end of a year, Alice thanked her therapist for having saved her life. She was like a different person. She now feels more independent, has reconnected with old friends, and is once again taking care of herself. She has turned her life around. Let's break this story down to examine the critical moments. To start with, Alice was fortunate to have a doctor who recognized that she was depressed and knew how to connect her to SPOP. The doctor didn't just dismiss Alice as a widow who just needed help to move on, but instead assured her that there was no shame in seeking help. Also, by listening without judgment, we were able to gather information about Alice's experience and gain her trust. Most importantly, we connected her to a therapist who believed that she could grow and change at age 83. The outcome was that Alice has a new lease on life. Isabel is 15 years younger than Alice and identifies as a Black Latina lesbian. She was referred by our community partner, Sage, the leading advocacy center for LGBTQ plus adults in the United States. During her intake interview, Isabel said she was depressed, but she kept repeating that she didn't want therapy. She had tried it in the past and felt it was just for rich white people. And no therapist could ever understand her story. Fortunately, we kept her on the line and listened closely. The more Isabel talked, the clearer it became that she faced a long history of discrimination because of her skin color, sexual orientation, and poverty. She was not partnered, had few friends, and was estranged from her family. We connected Isabel with a therapist, and now 10 months into the process, Isabel reports that she feels seen, heard, and fully acknowledged for the first time in her life. She has joined an LGBTQ plus support group and feels that she'll find genuine friendships there. It was clear in the very first conversation that Isabel had a lot to say, starting with her mistrust of the mental health system. She was upset and yearned for help, yet she was reluctant to accept it. Just untangling her story required exceptional skills, and I'm proud that our staff knew how to listen and move her through the process. These two stories are examples of how SPOP uses an intersectional framework or an understanding of life experiences, backgrounds, or commonalities to support older adults. What do I mean by an intersectional framework? We often say that SPOP sits at the corner of aging and mental health in New York City. That's where our expertise lies, but our greatest strength comes from working with partner agencies with explicit expertise in other areas. These can include physical disabilities, substance misuse, being unhoused, financial hardship, or anything else that affects the well-being of older adults. By working with these partners, we have built bridges to underserved communities and connected to individuals who might never find us on their own. In fact, our community partners refer over 1,000 adults to SPOP each year. They trust that we will see each person as an individual, not an age. And they connect clients to us with the confidence that we have the skills and expertise to help. The intersectional framework also helps us to pair clients with therapy groups. We offer groups for adults with shared experiences, such as living with chronic illness, serving as a caregiver, managing anxiety, recovering from depression, or other points of connection. All of our groups currently meet using telehealth, which makes it easy to participate without the challenges of transportation or inclement weather. Telehealth has been the biggest breakthrough I could have ever imagined for older adults. When we made the decision to close our offices during the pandemic, we had no idea how our clients would manage. We had trained our staff in telehealth, but I'm a little embarrassed to say this. We weren't sure if older adults would be tech savvy enough to participate. You see, even if those of us working in the field can make ageist assumptions. We were so wrong. Our clients love telehealth. Older adults suffered during the pandemic, but many also found new pathways to learn new skills and coping strategies. Technology has enabled them to engage in therapy in the privacy of their home, chat with friends and family members, participate in religious services, or attend online social groups. Telehealth has also transformed our profession and may be the most compelling reminder that we can all grow and change at any age. There is no substitute for coming together in person, but we have heard from countless clients that telehealth was a true lifeline when they were most alone and frightened. As we leave this beautiful place and return to our homes, I'd like to ask you to join with me in creating a new conversation about mental health and older adults. There are 3 things we can all do. Reject negative stereotypes about aging. Acknowledge each older person as an individual, not an age. And finally, spread the word that our communities are stronger when mental health care is available at every phase of life. Thank you so much. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome some questions.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for your enlightening talk. And now I would like to kick off our Q&A section with my question from myself. How do you think, how can we ensure the intergenerational relationship could be nurtured and sustained in order to promote the quality of life and well-being of the older people, and at the same time addressing their challenges and complexities they may facing?
That's a great question. During our work, we spend a great deal of time talking about the importance of intergenerational relationships. And in addition, how important social engagements are with friends and neighbors and how much that can lead to healthy aging. What we do find, interestingly enough, is that a lot of younger people who have had strong and memorable relationships with grandparents and older friends and neighbors are entering the field, which is wonderful. But really the most important thing is listening and communication between generations. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. As we are running out of time, so thank you again, Nancy Harvey.
Thank you so much.